27th Nigerian Economic Summit has ended. The conversations which started at the event continue to dominate the economic space. The theme, which was securing our future, the fierce urgency of now, covered challenges of of doing business, the place of fintechs, financial inclusion, and a whole lot more. But after the conversations, then what's next? Well, that's what we're about to find out with a member of the technical committee of the 27th National Economic Summit, is also partner at Aston Young, Mr. John Wajumogu, joining us to talk about that. Good morning, Mr. Wajumogu. Good to have you on the show.
Good morning.
So
Good
first of
morning.
all,
I'd like to be here.
Yeah, I'd like to say congratulations on a successful summit. And then, of course, after that, let's know some highlights from the conversations that you had there.
Thank you very much. First, I would like to congratulate the NSG for organizing a very successful summit. I am very proud that EY supported the NSG as part of the technical advisor to the Central Organizing Committee. The summit, as you mentioned, was premised on the theme of securing the future of Nigeria, which is really a reflection of the changes that is sweeping the global landscape when you think of the imperatives that came out of COVID, of which the situation we're currently in, and as well as the imperatives of the fourth industrial revolution. And the amplifier, the urgency of now, is an emphasis on how rapid things are really moving. But to that, the key highlights that resonated with me, it's really looking at the attention that was paid on human capital, a recognition that human capital is probably the strongest resource that we have as a country, and the potentials that exist in us being able to enhance and leverage our strong human capital endowment in driving strong economic growth. If you put this in the context of the new economic order that is dictated by a knowledge economy. I mean, there's been a transition from factor-based to investment-based economic approaches to what is now a knowledge-based economy. And for a knowledge-based economy, human capital is the key value driver that can allow any nation to use it as a lever for economic growth. So for me, that really resonated. The attention that was paid to that and all the different dimensions of human capital as it leads to inclusion from a gender and a youth standpoint, and emphasis on the other aspects of human capital, such as social interventions in the form of education, health. For you to be successful in this knowledge economy based fourth industrial revolution, countries that will come out on the other side stronger and more robust are ones who've paid attention in the intersectionality of education, innovative learning, research and development, investments in technology, and their enabling policies. So that really came out of this session. Of course, there were discussions in other aspects of public and socioeconomic life that was really important, such as in security, strengthening the political economy, digital transformation, which links back to knowledge economy. That were the key highlights for me that resonated.
Yeah, well, very interesting. And I do know that I think that also brought up conversation comparing the budget set aside for education and health compared to others, even the money spent on subsidy. And I think the federal government also came to a kind of criticism on allocation for education and health.
Yes. What you will find is that it was quite a robust conversation. And that's what you expect from events such as this, because by organizing this sort of summits, you're able to bring cross-set of society to come in and give voices to give a forum and voices to some of those issues that may not have a platform to be expressed. And in that regard, the public sector was able to hear from civil society, hear from private citizens on their expectations, particularly with the budget that was released. And I believe the public sector after all these robust conversations, will go back and relook at some of the programs and initiatives that underlie the budget and try to identify ways to make sure it speaks to the issues and the contentions that came out of this past 3 days of robust conversations.
Well, another area was the macroeconomic stability for recovery and sustained growth. What are some of the conclusions in this area?
So if you think about the amplifier, the urgency of now, it is a recognition that things are moving very rapidly, and if you put that in the context of our demographic situation, whereby we're the largest population in Africa, and we're growing at 3% per year. You're going to see, if we continue at this pace, it is estimated by 2050 or so, will be about 400 million people. That's quite a lot. So we cannot afford to grow at an incremental pace. We need to grow exponentially. And in order to do that, we need to create an enabling environment that stimulates job creation at an exponential rate, that energizes economic activity, that facilitates the inflow of capital, both domestic and foreign, but not necessarily the inflow of capital, but that the output that comes out of that capital is very impactful and transformative. And in also looking at what I believe and ties into the human capital potential that Nigeria has, is being able to crystallize the huge demographic dividend that we have. You look at our population, the size of it, of course, is a favorable demographic attribute. But the fact that we have a young population and the potential that having such a large number of your population being relatively very young gives you certain impetus that, quite frankly, a lot of nations may not have in terms of the consumption potential that represents, the productivity potential that represents, and again, the ability to use that to engineer yourself into exponential economic growth. So those things were the action points that came out as tools to continue to sustain and create a stable macroeconomic situation that gives confidence to investors to come into Nigeria, gives confidence to people in Nigeria or on the future, and also enables improvements in partnership between the public and the private sector. Now, gone are the days when those two strands of the public sphere, the government and the private sectors, can operate largely in silos. What really came out is a strong need for collaboration between these two segments of society in being able to co-develop initiatives, collaborate in implementation, because nobody can do it alone. And in this highly competitive environment and in this changing world order that we are in, a rapidly evolving world order that we are in, the ability to galvanize in a concerted approach every aspect of your society is a critical success factor that we believe, if properly implemented, will help in improving the stability of our economy.
And of course, the fintechs are forced to reckon with these days. And so there's no way you could have had such a summit without talking about them. And then one of the things that came out of the summit is that it's been reported that the fintechs are getting more funding from foreign investors, than back here. What's up with the opportunities back here? Are they not good enough, or they are not accessible to the fintechs?
Uh, yes, the fintech momentum, uh, the, the fintech sector was, came out very strongly in conversations, and it ties in very nicely to the knowledge economy narrative, because the knowledge economy, like I mentioned, is built on the institutionality of investments in technology, on educating your people and making sure your people are healthy, and also encouraging investments in research and development and innovative learning. Now, you have to understand that this is an area that's actually Nigeria's recorded a number of successes. The, of the five or so, so-called unicorns, Nigeria contributes four of the five were incubated in Nigeria. And that incubation suggests that there have been venture capitalists, there have been investments in being able to get them to the level where the foreign investors have now come in and been able to help them get to the level of valuation that they've gotten. So for me, what that shows is that there's massive opportunity domestically in the fintech space. And the fintech, and not only in fintech, really, because although a fintech is really what the attention has been on, is really about technology enabled solutions, technology enabled services. And the convergence of industries, which is now being enabled through technology. So you're seeing this happen in agriculture, you're seeing it happen in energy, and of course, fintech is very well known, but this is going across, it's cross-sectoral. And why fintech is now leading the way, the other sectors are also coming into the fold and coming into view. But I believe that the opportunities domestically still remains. I mean, there's large amounts of capital outside of our shores, so there's nothing wrong in people looking in and seeing the opportunities there are in Nigeria and coming in to try to crystallize those opportunities. I believe that even if the foreign investors are the ones increasingly taking these companies up to that level of valuation, it would only serve as an encouraging signal to domestic capital providers to start looking at this space and trying to find a niche or find an avenue for them to participate as well. And even for the commercial banks as well, who now, given the attention, given the valuations that a lot of these firms have now received, would only be an encouragement for commercial banks to start looking at this space and try to identify ways to start supporting this sector. So it's a win-win for everyone, in my view.
And now, after the talk, what's next? Or do we just wait till this time next year when NESG, the 28th summit, will be coming up? What's going to happen in between? What about implementation of some of these ideas?
So, yes, and that's very important, and something that really came out very strongly during the deliberations was the fact that I remember in the session that His Excellency, the former Prime Minister of Ethiopia, he noted on how a number of the policies that were implemented in their country and all the programs that they introduced was based on lessons learned or based on observations from programs that Nigeria had in place. So it's beyond just talking policy, it's beyond just discussing ideas and coming up with initiatives. The crux of the matter is in how effectively are we able to implement some of these major action points that came out of the summit. Policy is often I'll say a canvas that government cast their loftiest aspirations, but that aspiration would have now to be transformed to real initiatives and implemented so that we start feeling the outcome. And as a part of that was the agreement between the Office of the Head of Civil Service of the Federation and the Ike Mokede Foundation, which is an agreement to digitize operations of the civil service with implementation of what was called the Enterprise Content Management Solution. And it was signed in the presence of His Excellency, the Vice President, Yemi Osibanjo. And the anticipated outcome is that it will improve the efficiency of civil service, increasing their capacity, making the operations more efficient, and introducing accountability and transparency to the process of the civil service. And we believe this will have a multiplier effect in translating to increases in improvement in ease of doing business, lowering cost of compliance burden when dealing with the private sector. But the accountability and transparency and trust it engenders between the public and private sector, it's a very key win and something that can be leveraged to even drive more efficiency throughout the public sector. So that's one tangible outcome of the summit, and that various that will follow in the deliberations.
All right, I guess even if we follow up with this one, and then we see some results, like you said, it will have a multiplier effect, and it will certainly be worth it. Thank you so much, Mr. John Uwajumogu, partner at Aston Young and a member of the Technical Summit at the 27th Nigerian Economic Summit. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Pleasure.
After the break, our commodities market updates. It's Business Morning on Channels Television.